During the Appomattox Campaign of 1865, the Confederate Army attempts to escape from the clutches of Ulysses S. Grant. However, the Union Army is triumphal. After the breakthrough at Petersburg on April 2, 1865, the Confederate Army of Northern Virginia under General Robert E. Lee marches west in an attempt to eventually head south and meet up with General Joseph Johnston's Confederate Army in North Carolina. However, the numerically superior Union Army under General Ulysses S. Grant, sensing that the end is near, enthusiastically pursue the Confederate troops. The Union Army follows on the south side of the Confederate Army, preventing them from turning in that direction. The Confederate troops stop at Amelia Court House, expecting ration-filled trains. However, the trains are not there, and so the Confederates are forced to continue their march west. The Union force under Grant continues in pursuit, nipping at the Confederate heels. Eventually, they force the Confederate rear guard into a fight around Sailor's Creek. During this action, Union cavalry under General Philip Sheridan engage Confederate troops under General Richard Ewell and Robert Anderson. Sheridan is able to hold them at bay while he retrieves the Union 6th Corps, which attacks the Confederate left. After an intense fight, Union cavalry drives Anderson's corps back, and most of Ewell's corps, around 7,000 men, are surrounded and captured. The remainder of Lee's army marches to High Bridge on the 6th, where they prevent Union soldiers from burning the bridge. Fighting continues on April 7th.
Aim. Fire.
The Confederates, though they are unable to burn the bridge behind them, are able to retreat across the Appomattox River. During this time, the Confederates reach the city of Farmville, where provisions are located. But the Confederate troops are forced to continue their march without rations, as the Union Army looms closer. The Confederate Army now has an extreme lack of food, and the situation only worsens. Lee's objective is now Appomattox Station, where another train containing rations is stationed. However, on April 8th, unbeknownst to Lee, Union cavalry under the command of General Armstrong Custer attack and defeat a column of Confederate artillery, taking Appomattox Station and destroying the rations therein. The Confederate troops near Appomattox Court House now find their path blocked by Union cavalry. Lee realizes the only hope for his army is to reach Lynchburg, where he can obtain rations and another chance at moving south. And thus, on the morning of April 9th, 1865, Confederates under General John Gordon resolutely attack the Union cavalry, driving them back.
Aim. Fire. Kneel. Fire.
The Confederates then encounter a few brigades of Union infantry, which they also push through. However, upon cresting a ridge, they are faced with two Union corps. Lee's 28,000 men are now surrounded on three sides by Grant's 114,000. After assessing the situation, Lee says, "Then there is nothing left for me to do but to go and see General Grant, and I would rather die 1,000 deaths." Grant and Lee meet at the McLean House. There, they both sign terms for the surrender of the Army of Northern Virginia. The terms which Grant offers Lee are very generous. The Confederate troops, upon signing a parole, are allowed to return to their homes with their horses and mules, and the officers allowed to retain their sidearms. These generous terms, Grant and Lincoln hope, will go a long way towards healing the broken nation. The surrender of Lee's army is considered by most to be the end of the American Civil War. For once the other Confederate armies, which are still in the field, heard of Lee's surrender, they too would come to terms. And thus, the long road of Reconstruction would begin. The total casualties for the Appomattox campaign were, for the Union, around 10,000, and for the Confederates, around 30,000, with an additional 28,000 surrendered at Appomattox.